Welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Christi Hoffman. Each week we will discuss tools, tips, and ways to radiate your best life ever, interviewing practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate? Hello and welcome to the 100th episode of the Radiate Wellness Podcast.
Yay!
Woohoo! We are here with the Radiators. We've got all of our practitioners here right now. Mary Jane Stodeman, Kathy Lesmeister, Donna Kelly, Steve Sanders. We're here to radiate self-care, because we feel it's important. And we have just, on this day, it's July 18 when we're recording this, and we've just finished our WFH, Wellness from Home retreat. And we are jazzed and enthused. Thank you guys for being here.
We love it. We love it.
So let's have everybody introduce themselves, okay? So let's go, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to go counterclockwise. Mary Jane, would you see who you are?
Yes, hello. Mary Jane Stodeman. I'm the resident astrologer here at Radiate Wellness. I'm not on the site. I'm living in Geneva, Switzerland, and doing my work with Christi and her gang online, always at a distance, but close to heart, and enjoying my time with all of these brilliant people who are teaching me stuff every day.
You were sheltering in place before sheltering in place was cool.
You're right. Exactly.
So Geneva, Switzerland. So Mary Jane is talking to us from the future.
Yes, it's 9:30 p.m. at my place, but I'm into the aperitif hour, so.
It's 2:22, which is a very fortuitous time here in Kansas City as we record.
Right.
And Kathy. Hey, Kathy, you want to introduce yourself? Tell what you do?
Hi, I'm Kathy Lesmeister, and I am an energy facilitator. I work with the body, work with emotions, feelings. I work with whatever it is that you need to help you on your path so that you can live a conscious, vibrant, healthy life. And it's great to work with all the different practitioners. I'm in Kansas City, so I have a location north of the river. And I also am at Centered Spirit, which I share a room with Christi.
Yeah. All right, Steve. Thank you, Kathy. Steve.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Steve Sanders from South Kansas City. I'm on with this group as the life coach, whether that's related to leadership activities and you wanting to be a leader, or that's looking at your personal life as to why maybe your results aren't matching up with what your dreams or desires are. I work with people through many different models where we're looking at what you're doing, who you're being, and then, of course, your thoughts and how that influences the actions you take. And so I'm appreciative of being here with all the other radiators today. And this has just been a great day.
It really has. Oh, my gosh. And Donna.
Yes, my name is Donna Kelly. I'm in downtown Kansas City, but I work virtually. I no longer have an office. I just do everything virtually. My background is actually conventional medicine, pharmacy. And through my own health journey, 6 years ago, I didn't think I'd be walking. And I was really afraid to take medications. And so I decided I would turn to nutrition. And I was pain-free after 60 years of laying pain-free in 1 month. So I have left pharmacy, and I help people regain their health improve their health through diet and lifestyle.
Awesome. So today we had our virtual, our work from home or wellness from home retreat. The first of hopefully many more retreats that we do. And it was really great. We had some great participation, and each one of us brought something different to the table and to the day, to the event. In the middle, smack dab in the middle of the day, we had a self-care panel where we talked about all the different wonderful ways that we inform clients to practice good self-care, but then also what we do individually for self-care. So who wants to go first to talk about maybe what you recommend, why you think it's important, or what your practice is?
I use an app that I've downloaded from the App Store that's called the Insight Timer, which is a simple, like contained location where there's guided meditations from 3 to 5 minutes to set aside to calm myself and increase awareness, which that's really, the heart of my work as a life coach is working in that space of awareness. Awareness on the one side after playing around with blind spots, right? Because it's actually the blind spots that catch us. And so with the Insight Timer, it's a very simple device to not only track the amount of time I'm in meditation, but actually be guided. I find for myself that having somebody guide me through a meditation is much better than me necessarily trying to just be quiet on my own, right? When I try to be quiet on my own, it seems right now that my thoughts distract me away from that peaceful space. And so at the moment, I'm using Insight Timer. The other thing I'm doing is exploring the world of tapping. Some people call it EFT, or short for tapping, which is a practice of working with your body to shift patterns. And so exploring how tapping combined with uplifting song or uplifting affirmations can set a new course in place or set a new pattern in place to grow. And so that's what I would say that I'm exploring right now and recommending to clients.
The first thing you mentioned was the Insight Timer and meditation, and that's probably the number one thing that not only I, but Spirit recommends to clients. And they'll often get messages either just from a reading or in hypnosis about meditating more. And Donna, I know you recommend meditation too, which is pretty cool for a pharmacist. So why do you recommend it?
Well, when you look at supporting the body to heal, and as I have learned more and more about the body from a holistic standpoint, this wonderful body is totally built to heal. In the 21st century, it does get to be a challenge because we no longer live in a natural world. We have processed foods, we have light pollution everywhere, we have air pollution, plus we're not in a rested parasympathetic state most of the time because we're so rushed. If we are in a parasympathetic state, that is rest, digest, and repair. if you are repaired, you are not inflamed. And in our Western world, most diseases, almost all diseases, are because of inflammation. So I talk a lot about meditation. I like to have a three-legged stool, actually. Meditation calms the body, calms the mind, so that you can drop into that rest, digest, and repair mode. Obviously, nutrition, the food you eat is information for your cells. Sugar, processed sugar, is the number one driver of inflammation, so you want to take it to zero. I will say zero. It's easier at zero than a little bit. And you want to eat high, clean food, which means usually locally sourced, sustainably raised, or organic. You don't want pesticide, herbicide in your foods. That negatively impacts your gut health, which is where all health originates. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. Mm-hmm. So my challenge currently, and I have made huge progress on this, has been sleep. Because when you sleep, you repair your body with growth hormone, you cleanse your mind, and melatonin, which is produced during sleep, is actually one of the most potent antioxidants that the body produces.
That's pretty cool.
With COVID, when we first started, I couldn't see my father. He was in a nursing home. I was getting maybe 2 hours of sleep a night. I mean, that just really wipes you out. But, what are you going to do? I was scared. I couldn't get to him. And of course, the staff was overwhelmed. They couldn't tell me much about him. But I will tell you that I really, really put the highlight on getting sleep. So I've got blackout curtains. I get off my technology about 4 o'clock. I don't eat my last meal is usually about 4 in the afternoon. I journal at night. I meditate. And I will tell you that now I drop to sleep very easily. Usually 7-ish, give or take a half an hour of sleep, wake up, energized, and I'm ready to go. And I don't have that 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon slump. Yeah. So sleep, meditation, and food, they all impact each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, self-care is taking care of your body.
Right.
Of your body. Right. And yourself in terms of your spiritual side, your mental, emotional side too. But it's like doing the things that we would tell a kid to do. If you're, as parents, like you want to make sure your kids are fed, rested, and they get some sort of play. And if they don't get those things, they're cranky. So same thing for us too. Kathy, what do you like to teach and preach and practice?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about meditation as well, because I think sometimes people, when you talk about meditation, they think you just have to sit and be quiet. But so if you would go outside, there's walking meditations you can do in nature, just walking in nature. You might try spending an hour and go 100 feet and just see how much awareness you have, because I'm sure you're going to pick up on the insects and anything that's in that 100 feet realm. If you spend an hour going that slow, how much awareness would you have? Because when you meditate and you meditate for long periods of time, I used to be in a group, and there's depths and layers within yourself that not only are you quieting your mind, but there are many places within yourself when you hit that zone, I'm going to call it a zone, that open up, and you see more of yourself and more depth in the quietness and the spiritual part of meditating, the connection. So meditation is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. So however you do it, but there's so many different ways to do it. I do want to encourage everyone to do some type of meditation.
Something I've written about. Oh, sorry, Donna, go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to also remind people about forest bathing. Kathy talks about going outside. The green wavelengths of light are very healing to us. Blue wavelengths of light in the morning and the daytime turn off melatonin production to get you fully awake. So, but going outside, you get that green wavelength if you get around trees, and very healing. I'm glad you said that, Kathy.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's a good point, is that we don't have to, very few of us have a half an hour to sit down twice a day and meditate. It's just not something that we would tend to practice, even during the COVID lockdown, right? But something I've written about before is I just call them micro meditations. We've got unclaimed time during the day, like we might be waiting for somebody or waiting for something. We can take that time while we're drinking our whatever tea or coffee or whatever in the morning. We can do it very mindfully and very deliberately and meditatively. So there's all types of time during the day that we can. Shower meditation.
Awesome. Right. Shower meditation's great.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Box breathing meditation.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Because when you breathe slowly, you're cueing your mind that you're safe.
Yeah.
Working with the breath. So Mary Jane, what do you practice for your own self-care?
Wow. Well, as I pointed out to our group before we really got started, I feel as though I'm kind of a troublemaker here in the middle of all these wonderful techniques to fix ourselves. And they're wonderful. But my job as an astrologer, I think my first job is to bring people around to recognize, to learn themselves.
Yeah.
Not their mother's doctor that she told him he was going to be, and not daddy's shoemaker or whatever he was, and he wants you to keep going. We've got to come into ourselves, and it's a whole process. I think it's at least my friends here help me along, saying that this is the basis of everything else. What I want people to do, and what I try to bring them to do, is accomplish finally Carl Gustav Jung's individuation. Who am I? Who was I born to be? And this has very little to do with everything I learned in school and the church I went to and what Daddy and Mommy told me that I was going to be, or were hoping that I was going to be. That's not in the program. So it takes a bit of getting totally naked, being able to take on our own doubts, our own hesitations, our own fears. I really want to go in there and see who I am and see what I've been missing? What have I maybe done wrong? Maybe there are things that need fixing. I see most of my clients, I think, now that I think of it, I see most of my clients at a point in their lives when they keep repeating shemas, repeated bad habits, repeated bad choices. They're going off in directions that are just not satisfactory and that are not honest. They're not authentic. And so it takes this one-on-one. Sometimes it's a very hard process to be able to say, let's rethink what brought you to this particular habit, to this particular attitude. And maybe we can turn it around. Maybe there's some other way to act. Maybe you want to go back and say no to the family pattern, because we see a lot of this. We've talked about that in all kinds of directions, starting with the chakras and finishing up with psychoanalysis. Family patterns that need to be undone. So, okay, let's get started. It's not a very comfortable process often. People come back to me, though, usually a week or two afterwards, and say that they've got more accomplished in 2 hours in consultation than in 2 years of psychoanalysis. I can't tell you the joy that this brings me, because finally we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, getting down to the basic motives behind our choices. And well, that's what I do during my days, and try to help people come into their own finally.
Yeah, Steve.
Well, I think Mary Jane spoke to something that I want to underline. We're on a podcast talking about self-care. Self-care doesn't necessarily equate into alone care, right? That there are ways of self-care that do involve reaching out to practitioners like us at particular times, right? And then coming back in and integrating that into something that you do for yourself. Just underlining that, because when I first heard of self-care, took it in the range of having to be by myself as a lone ranger, and that's not what we're talking about at all.
Although you would look great in the little mask and the hat, I'm just saying.
I bet so. I bet so. Hi-ho silver, the whole horse thing and everything.
Yeah, you'd be great at that. You know, I think that what, Mary Jane, what you're talking about is a big aspect of self-care is doing the work. That, you know, you could go to see a medical physician or a DO or any type of medical type of person. But if you're not following the instructions, you're not going to make much progress at all. So you can see Steve for some life coaching, but if you're not, following the game plan, you're not going to make a lot of progress. You can see Mary Jane for astrology consultation, but if you're not looking at what you need to look at, you're not going to make a lot of progress. I mean, same with all of us. If the client doesn't want to put the work in, they're not going to see the results.
So, Christi, what you're really saying is self-care is caring enough about yourself to do the work you need to do for the changes that you want to make in your life.
Right.
That's really what self-care is about.
Sure.
Right.
Caring about the self. Yeah, Donna?
You're caring about yourself, and you're willing to look at all of the options and look at yourself to the true naked self of you to make the changes to do the self-care, because you care enough about yourself to make these changes happen for you.
Yeah, you can't turn over your health to a doctor.
No, because you're responsible for it.
Right. And your actions and conventional medicine is coming around to this more and more. And I would just like to suggest also that it's good to have compassion for ourselves, love and compassion and understanding. It's a learning journey, this life. And, we've all come to where we are because of this journey. And if we don't like where we are, then there's maybe some changes that need to be made instead of just taking a pill and hoping for the best.
Yeah, and I think I love what both of you are saying about sufficient interest in caring about yourself. And because, we're not necessarily bombarded with permission to care about ourselves. That's not what we get bombarded with and programmed through. And so, that it's almost like what you said, Kathy, is like a radical idea that I care enough about myself that I'm going to have attention on these things.
Right.
It does. Well, and I came from a corporate background as well, and I won't name the major company, but it's a big international one based here in Kansas City, and it was a badge of honor to work nights and weekends and take your computer home and work. And you'd come in Monday morning. It's like, well, wait, how late were you here Friday? Oh, I was here until 6. Oh, man, you're lucky. I was here till 8, and then I still took my computer home. I mean, it was a badge of honor. And to admit that, you know what, I was finished with my day at 5 and left and didn't think another thing about it and then came back in the morning refreshed, that was not okay. And so I think that if there's anything good that has come out of coronavirus, is that we needed to slow down, and we have. Came to a screeching halt in some ways, but it really needed to happen.
I'd like to add another thing about self-care.
Mm-hmm.
To do self-care is to stop judging yourself wrong. There's no such thing as right and wrong, good and bad. They are all judgments. And if you are spending time judging yourself wrong, why aren't you spending that time judging what's right about you and what's good, what makes you? Because those are opportunities for change, and you need to look at a different point of view about yourself. If every time something in your body happens, you judge that as a wrongness, because maybe it's an awareness happening and it's not to do anything with you. Maybe your body's trying to get you to, hey, wake up, there's something happening and I'm trying to get your attention. So if you kind of stop judging and coming to conclusions on things and start saying, what else is possible, or what is this trying to tell me, instead of just always judging yourself wrong, that's probably a pretty important thing you can do for self-care as well.
Yeah. And something I wanted to mention is that your hair has gotten so long, Kathy, during this whole coronavirus thing. It's gotten so long, and you were rocking that look. Yeah. It looks really good. I'm sure there was a moment there where you felt it didn't, but you're really coming into it. But the point I wanted to make with that is there were protests, people saying, open things back up, I need a haircut. Because they weren't looking at themselves saying, well, maybe I need to do something different with how I look. Or not saying it's okay, maybe I put too much importance on how I look.
Right.
And so all of this to say that sometimes we think of self-care as haircuts, coloring, manicures, pedicures, waxing, all of these things. And yes, if they help you feel empowered, wonderful. But the self-care that we're talking about is much deeper than that. And this was another one of the gifts of coronavirus, is that we got to step out of our daily routine and say, okay, which of these routines was I addicted to? Which routines do I want to let back in? Which can I do without?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is my hair looking good longer? I might keep it going. Is it looking good in the new color? I might keep that going.
Right. Or maybe I'm not wearing makeup anymore. Once you put a mask on and you wear glasses, you can't see the makeup.
Or you're on Zoom doing all of your work and nobody can see it.
Right.
And at the same time, a lot of people around me were having to rethink their jobs. A lot of people lost their jobs, or there was a lot of setbacks. They weren't able to work as much as they wanted to. And this, I found it in consultation, at least, it was a wonderful time to say, well, how did I get in this stupid job anyhow when I want to be doing something else?
Yeah.
And there's absolutely room for that, when things slow down and you have time to just sit and think and feel about what's going to be right for you. Why, I think this is a chance to absolutely seize.
Right. What was important? What am I doing without right now that I thought I could never do without, but I'm actually doing okay?
Yeah.
A lot of the kids are finding that with online school, a lot of kids are thriving. Now, I know there's an equal number who just don't learn as well online or just don't have the time or the focus or the capability to do that from home. But a lot of kids are finding that, I actually do better when I'm not around all of that energy all the time. Kathy, you had mentioned something about that with your job.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did, because there's like 130 people that I work with. And when we came home to work, it was like, oh, I have my own thoughts, my own emotions, and my own feelings. I'm not bouncing off of everyone in the office and trying to clear the energy so that the space is a little bit clearer to maneuver when you're working with everyone in an office space. And it was like, this was one of my fabulous things that I found, because it was like, this is just me. It's just me and my own energy and my own space and my own thoughts. What am I thinking and feeling? And so for the first month, it was like I was so excited to be in my own energy and space that I thought it was great. So.
And some of us might have been fighting with rigid schedules of work. It's like, I'm not a morning person. So asking me to be at a job functioning and working really hard at 8 a.m. didn't work for me. But if I could, rearrange my schedule so that, like now, I kind of set my own hours because I do this stuff full time. And I like to have people come in to make an appointment at 9 because by then I'm okay. Right. Yep. And then, so we might find that we have different rhythms that we can work in and be a lot happier and more productive.
Yeah. And and you're working your own space and your own time now. You're really quite more efficient. It might take longer to do things at home, but we're really quite efficient in the way that we do things because you're not interrupted. There's no interruptions of someone coming to your desk, asking questions or wanting to know where this or that is. So there's more efficiency actually happening for the people at home.
Did you know that Radiate Wellness has a subscription-based premium content Facebook group? Think of it like the premium version of this free podcast. In this premium Facebook group, you can find great content like replays of online classes, meditations on angels, chakras, mindfulness, and more, guest speakers, mini classes, polls, plus you'll be the first to know of guests that we have scheduled for the podcast and can submit questions for them. You get all of this great content for one low monthly price, and the first month is half off. You can subscribe by going to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/shop. Click the subscriptions button and you're in. Also, while I have your attention, wherever you're listening to this free podcast, if you could just do us a couple of favors, please. One is go to hit the subscribe or follow button. Then you'll be notified of all of the episodes we have coming out each week. Also, please rate and review. It sounds really simple, but it helps us to grow our audience when people are looking for great podcasts. And when we grow our audience, we can do bigger and better things and bring you even more great guests. So please do those couple of things, and that will help us grow this audience and this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
When you're talking about working from home, just not to have the commutes are huge. And that's not just saving us time and energy, but it's also impacting the world, bringing down the pollution. There's one researcher that said Wuhan probably had saved more lives because of the decrease in air pollution than the lives they lost through COVID.
Wow.
Interesting. Yep.
That's probably true.
We'll just leave that at that. But, we are impacted by, we're all connected. We're connected to the earth. And so anything that we can do that takes the burden off the earth also supports us. So.
Yeah, there are places that they could see mountains for the first time in decades. They could actually see.
And look how quickly that changed. It didn't take years.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I know.
you can see blue skies for the first time. Children are seeing blue skies for the first time.
Wow. Can you imagine how that would affect somebody?
Well, but
Yeah.
I think with what we're talking about here, though, on the physical environment, right? When we're talking about self-care at an individual level, you can get yourself inside the notion that it's hopeless and there's nothing that can shift. And that is so not true.
I know.
Right? That's so not true. We're seeing it environmentally beyond us. We're seeing it individually within us. An opportunity to relook, reevaluate. Again, it all goes back to what Kathy and Donna talked about, which is when you look at it through the lens of I care enough about myself to make this important, transformation is possible.
Absolutely. And I like what you said, Steve, about, these small changes versus the big changes.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think all of us recommend to our clients, it's like, don't completely go and change every aspect of your life all at once. It's like trying to stop smoking, stop overeating, and, do 3 major habits at the same time. That's too much. But just making small changes, little changes throughout the day. Donna, you agree?
Yeah, habits, yeah.
Yeah.
The smaller they are, and if you're not able to maintain it, make the steps smaller.
Oh,
so that you can do it, and you will do it, and then you can expand it. Yeah, wonderful book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Yeah, just to study how habits are formed and how you can drop old habits and pick up new ones. Whole science out there, and the steps should be very small.
I think that's
like you said, one at a time. You cannot change a lot at a time.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think that's why these challenges are so popular on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. The third, Mary Jane, you did the video creation challenge with Launch for Life. It was like a coaching on creating videos. Mm-hmm. Steve, Kathy, and Donna and I, we all took a class from SCORE, which is a great organization for business and entrepreneurs, video challenge as well. Just 30 days to start a habit. People do meditation challenges, self-Reiki challenges. I think that's why these are so important and so popular. It's a good way to start a new habit, start a new routine, and find out that, no, I can do this.
Yeah, because it's done in a space of experimentation and play, right? And that's, when we're talking about self-care, that's another very important aspect of it, right? If you try something on, try it from a point of view of experimentation and play. That, look, just like a scientist would do something for 30 days and then evaluate if it's going to work and decide to go on or not, right? Clients that I come to me when we're talking about this thing of self-care, one of the first things, Christi, that we have to get beyond is, well, I can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to do it for the rest of your life. We're only talking about the moment, or
a week.
sessions, right? A week.
Maybe.
Let's create an experiment and see how it goes before we immediately jump into the rest of my life. No, that's not. No.
I think the other side of that is giving up too soon. It's like, I tried meditation, I couldn't do it, so I gave up. Or I tried healthy eating, and I did okay for a couple of weeks, but then,
most people give up right before they could have a breakthrough. They just give up too soon. If they go just a little bit farther, they'd have a breakthrough and find out how great it was. And what the results were on the end if they just give it a little bit more time. But most people give up way before. Yeah,
Donna.
And mindset is really important on what kind of habits or how much work you're willing to do to change. The mindset is really important. If you say, I am going to be, I don't know, a person who enjoys healthy food or whatever, then that, if you really believe that you are going to do that and that you can transform that, because your mind and your body, they work together. And Kathy, you were speaking earlier about what's right with your life.
right.
A gratitude journal.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple, because just how we are wired as humans, we kind of get stuck on the negative, because thousands of years ago, we had to for sure remember where we saw the lion so that we didn't meet him again. That's not in today's world, So to switch that and focus on gratitude, what you're grateful for.
Right. Because that brings more into your life.
Right. You're more cognizant of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you buy a new car and then all of a sudden you notice everybody's got that, the same model.
Right.
When you're focusing on your gratitude, then, there's a lot to be grateful for.
Right. And you can see it through your day. You don't have to wait until when you're jotting it down in your journal. You can be grateful. I know that there's a lot of times in my day that it's like, I had that thought. Thank you for bringing that thought into my head, or thank you for having that car stop. I didn't think it was going to quite do that. There's so many times that you can express gratitude throughout your day.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be big things.
No.
Right?
Mm-mm.
You wake up and you immediately have two blessings. 1, 2, both your eyes open.
I'll drink to that.
You're hearing.
Yeah. Your two feet touch the ground. That's two blessings right there. There's lots to be grateful about. And with a gratitude journal, what's nice about it is that you can flip over, like when you're having a really bad day and it's like, God, I'm not grateful about this. It's like, God, my eyes opened again this morning. God, why did it have to happen? But it's like we're having a really bad day, but you can look through the gratitude journal and look back and see all the things that you've been grateful for, no matter how large or small. And that really just kind of fills you up.
Fills your cup.
There's that book. Have you guys read this book, What Fills Your Bucket? Or have you filled somebody's bucket? Do you guys know this book? It's a kid's book. And it's really good. And I've done this with the Sunday school kids. Have you filled a bucket today? I think is the name of the book. And so it talks about everybody's got this invisible bucket. And it's full of all the good things that happen to us. Somebody says something nice to you. Somebody smiles at you. Somebody helps you. Those things fill your bucket. But then things can dip into your bucket. Someone criticizes you or yells at you or shoves you on the playground. that dips out of your bucket. And so we need to be cognizant and aware of all the things that fill our bucket, but also, are we dipping into a bucket or are we filling it up? Steve, that reminds me of your what is it called? Up regulation, down regulation?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're speaking about a discipline called conversational intelligence, and the use of language, being able to upregulate the brain or downregulate the brain. Absolutely. And while conversational intelligence is designed mostly about organizational leadership and leading organizations, we've been pointing to it here with self-care, because the judging of yourself that Kathy pointed to and Donna pointed to, right? That internal language that you're using about the action you're taking is just as downregulating as if someone outside of yourself spoke those words at you. And sometimes the internal dialogue, depending upon which way it goes, can actually be more impactful than somebody outside of yourself.
And these things actually release hormones, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Hormones, neurochemicals, all types of different aspects within your physiology, you know.
Yeah, so the up-regulating stuff, the stuff that fills your bucket, the stuff that makes you feel positive and good, releases, serotonin and uplifting chemicals and neurotransmitters. But then the criticism, the self-talk, the self-doubt, the self-criticism gives you the negative hormones that do impact your brain.
Yep, cortisol.
Cortisol, there you go. Yeah.
Yep.
And it takes up to 24 hours for those hormones to cycle through the body?
Sometimes longer to metabolize. That's right. Your brain has to metabolize them, literally burn it up like energy to get them dissipated from your body. And yes, it can take quite a while depending upon how impactful the event is. And so when we're talking about self-care, back to kind of circling back a little bit about a part of self-care is to have little room for judgment of yourself. Because if you're judging yourself moment by moment by moment, or every, just really being critical and hard on yourself, you yourself are keeping you in a perpetual state of down regulation, which can
Donna.
And it would be your whole body because of the vagus nerve.
It would be your whole body.
You can't have one organ system, your eyes or ears, every part of you. It's either all one way or it's all the other way, because you are built to be together.
We're all connected.
Yeah, your body's got to either be ready to run or to be relaxed, or some variation along that line. Is just not an on and off. But your whole body is going to be lined up in the same way. So that's why, if you're depressed, your digestion's off, your sleep's off, your cardiovascular system's not there. Yeah, not as healthy.
Yeah, Kathy.
So what you're really saying is every thought, every word, every action that you have affects you.
The whole thing.
And not only does it affect you, it affects the whole humanity. Every word, every thought, every action. So how responsible in your self-care can you be to know not only are you affecting you, you're affecting all of us?
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, Donna.
So I have a question for Mary Jane. So we're
Yes, ma'am.
speaking of all of this. So my question to you is, if I knew more about myself, my strengths, my weaknesses, or however you say it in your practice, would that not give me more knowledge on how to react with the world in a different way to
Oh,
self-care? Hi.
absolutely, absolutely. On a hard day, let's say, on a difficult day, we have to talk finally about good aspects and bad aspects between planets. I don't like that term particularly, but it's extremely practical. The good aspects are going to be easy for us. These are connections between planets that are coloring our persona, that are making us up. Good aspects allow us to recognize our talents, to have ease in connecting with other people, with events around us. These are things we do particularly well. They're nice, but they're not everything. The hard aspects, the squares, the oppositions, these are where we make muscles. These are where we grow up. These are karmic lessons, if you'll allow the term, so that we're born with. Essentially, I maintain that a child, a baby, has a life plan. Now he's going to live this out various ways according to where he's born and into what family and what kind of situation exists around him. But the plan is there. It's like an architectural plan. It's like a blueprint. And so it's up to us to see, well, is this going to be a hospital? Is this going to be a church? Is this going to be a school? Is this going to be a home? What is this plan? And we can see, coming back to your question more specifically, in the difficult aspects, we see where we can run into problems. These are problems. Sometimes they're karmic, sometimes they're very old. Sometimes they're civilizational or familial. They can be repeated. We see sometimes we see certain what I call planetary signatures that repeat. We can see the same aspects between the same planets for generations. It's absolutely astonishing. And so finally, the person who's sitting across from me has to say, wow, we've been doing this so many years. I think I'm the link that's going to be broken. I think this bad behavior stops now. And that's the whole purpose, to my mind, the practical purpose at least, of an astrological consultation is to see where are these traps, where are these problems, and get through them, learn to treat them differently, learn to overcome them, basically.
Yeah.
And this is on a health basis. There's medical astrology, there's emotional and psychological astrology, there's religious astrology, there's mundane astrology, which puts us in a certain type of civilization where we're living. There are all kinds of approaches here. Everything's there if we know how to look. So yes, we're not there not only to discover what's there, where the traps are, but what we can do to get out of them, get rid of them, get clean.
Mm-hmm. Empower ourselves.
Yep.
Empowerment.
Yep, that's it.
You know, some of this conversation makes me circle back to what Kathy said about self-care. When we care enough to make these changes, and you know, when we don't know our path, we're not sure of it, and when we like constantly are giving ourselves these judgments and this negative self-talk, etc., it takes away our capacity to care. But that is fundamental. We have to not only want to make changes and live in a whole way, but we have to believe that we deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can be really huge for somebody who grew up with a lot of childhood trauma, someone who grew up with abuse or poverty, someone who was not treated fairly by their parents or by their schoolmates. That can have a devastating effect. Yeah, Donna.
I was reading a book, and I'm not going to be able to tell you what book. I've been reading so much. Not that the libraries are open, thank you, God. The Dalai Lama was speaking someplace in the United States. And of course, self-loathing, self-hatred can be a real issue. And someone asked him about that. And all the translators got together, and it just didn't compute. He could not answer because he had no conception what that meant. Because in his reality, there's only self-love. And I thought, whoa, what a reality, what a different mindset that would be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally different mindset. I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. Boy, what a statement that is about our culture.
Yeah.
Wow. And the way that we approach others.
And ourselves.
And ourselves, right.
Ourselves. Where did we learn to not value ourselves and love ourselves? Where did that come from?
Wow. Well, and babies have no concept of that. Babies just are. Babies, have self-love, have self-awareness, all these things. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if that is learned. I
would imagine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, without a doubt, Christi. Without a doubt that it's learned.
Right. And so it's the messages that we do hear from others about us and how they value us. And not that I don't need anybody to value me or not value me. I used to care. I really don't care anymore if anybody values me or not. But, it's just that's where that comes from. It's like how people approach you, how people deal with you, how people talk to you. I think, and we shouldn't place so much importance on it, but we do. Okay, yeah, Kathy, and then Mary Jane.
But the Dalai Lama probably lives his life and living it for the source of the creator and radiating his life through the source of the creator, which people who doesn't matter what religion they are or who they are, the people who truly have faith and believe and radiate the creator's love and faith is the difference between how you live and how you don't live. Is one aspect, I believe, to that question that you just asked about it. Because if you're not brought up in any type of religion and you're searching spiritually, you could still end up in the same space of looking for that. But the people who truly live the source, they don't waver, and they truly function from doing what the creator and the creator within them to radiate self-love in the planet and live by demonstration and actions of love.
Mary Jean, what did you want to bring in?
Oh, on the side, child psychologists tell us that this notion of what's right, what's wrong, and who to go to for approval, this starts at about the age of 1.5, where the kid is going out, trying all kinds of things, and his mother's saying, no, you can't do that. You can't touch this. You can't go there. And he has to turn around and see what's going to keep her happy. What's going to make mom smile again and love me again. And this starts 1.5, 2 years old when you're getting social rules. Social rules. Social rules have to exist. And just to keep these kids out of the oven and some other places. But meanwhile, it's a hard, on a psychological level, it's a really tough learning process that not only do you have to discover your world, but you also have to keep your parents happy, especially mom.
True. And mom's just trying to get through her day and keep everything going.
Wow. Right.
Right? Mom's trying to get kids fed, on task, on schedule, not hurting themselves. And so it's a lot of missed signals, miscommunication.
Sure. I mean, when you put yourself in the kid's skin, all he's hearing is everything I do is wrong. So let me think, how am I going to get out of this quadrum and keep everyone happy at home and let me do what I need to do too? It's a tough life. It's a tough start.
Well, and if you think about it a little bit more, talking about the kid, you're talking about a kid without a fully developed brain and very little experience. And whatever they come up with to survive that particular moment
sticks.
It
stays.
Yes, Donna, number one, it sticks. But number two, it isn't the same conclusion that the five of us would draw today.
That's
with
true.
our life experience.
Oh no.
But yet,
back there stuck.
It's stuck because it's in your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, whatever you equated as this kid, right, about how you were going to survive it, it's like, where did you put that? Well, you put it in your future. That when I come up against this situation again, right, I'm going to remember that this is how I'm going to negotiate it. It isn't that you're like this open space as a 10-year-old to re-examine it with the capacity you have as a 10-year-old. No, you go back to what you decided the first time that it came up.
Yep.
And because by that time it's already in your subconscious, it doesn't even occur to you to reconsider. It's just, this is your strategy for dealing with life, right?
That's it.
And so
third house stuff in astrology, it's all about the thinking process, the speaking process, and ruse. This is an important word. How to get along with mom, how to get along with my siblings. This is important. And it goes on for the rest of our lives.
Right.
And so if we're talking about caring enough about ourselves, right? Part of that journey is the re-examination of what got us here.
See, in my world, what I bring to the table, I would call that soul retrieval. What you're talking about exactly, Steve, is a little bit of our soul getting stuck in that moment at that time. And whenever faced in the future with a similar confrontation, we use the same reaction as that little soul orphan.
That's right. And, Kathy could jump in here and she could tell us how that got stored in a body and the muscle. And, that when you come into a similar type experience, right, the same place in your body hurts or feels good or whatever, right? It's all connected. Yeah.
Wow. So I do just geek out a little bit I get a little nerdy shot of joy just seeing all the places this overlaps. So Steve's talking about, neurotransmitters in this place in your brain, and Mary Jane's saying the third house. This happens in the third house. And I'm talking about soul retrieval, and Kathy's talking about where that's stored in your body. And then Donna's talking about, our emotions, et cetera. So I love how this all, it's many sides of the same dice.
It's all the same coin, just different sides, yeah.
It's all connected.
It is all connected. There's different ways for different people, and it's all connected.
Yeah.
I see these as different vocabularies.
Sure.
We're all speaking the same language, but with different vocabularies. Right. And the words, when you break them down, are going to essentially mean the same
together.
thing. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and people resonate with things differently. Some people like a real hands-on approach. Some people like a more cognitive approach. Somebody might want a more reflexive approach. So, I used to teach college English, and I would explain the same thing about commas, comma splices, 5 different ways, throwing 5 different bits of spaghetti at the wall, and one piece of spaghetti was going to stick for each person.
Yeah.
And so we've got all of these 5 different approaches, and a different approach is going to stick for somebody different.
Yep. For sure.
Wonderful. So, it's so funny how we started with self-care, and then
well, we're taking care of ourselves, aren't we, here?
Sure. And we ended up just talking about life in general. But that's what it's about. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining together and coming together to celebrate the 100th. We all got a little noisemakers. Our 100th episode about how to radiate wellness. Yeah. That's what it's about. All right. So do we have any thoughts we'd like to leave with? Let's go around and see if we've got any thoughts to leave with. Steve, do you have any thoughts to leave with?
This is, my true joy in life, to support people on this journey.
Yeah.
Donna, do you have any thoughts to leave us with?
Exactly. It brings me much joy to help, to be of service. Yeah.
Mary Jane.
That's the name of the game. If I can help somebody know themselves better and get over any holdbacks, anything that's keeping them from doing what they're supposed to do, I'm there.
And Kathy.
And I think everybody has said it. There's nothing better in life than to give someone a spark that gives them the chance and opportunity and choice to see the change that can come in their life so that they can live that vibrant life on the planet that they want and deserve. Self-love.
Self-love. Yeah, and I think my parting thought is that we're all in this together. We're all walking each other home, and it's a sacred task. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been Radiate Wellness's 100th episode.
Come back and see us.
Radiate Wellness is a community of holistic and alternative healers and consultants based in the Kansas City area, dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.